Islam, peace, hotep, greetings. This is July 23rd, Canaanland Moors class. As usual, we're going to start off with the bills. Don't forget, Saturday, September 21st, Sunday, September 22nd, Toronto Naturals and Natural Butterfly presents 2013 Toronto Natural Hair and Beauty Show. So if you're in the city of Toronto, make sure you show support to the Toronto Natural Hair and Beauty Show at the Japanese Canadian Cultural Center, 6 Garamount Court, Don Mills in Eglinton. For information, I think they're still looking for vendors. You can check the website, torontonaturals.ca, and there's the phone number. All right, this has been going on for a number of years in this jurisdiction, and as we said before, it's a sister that we used to go to school with that puts this on. So, you know, we make sure that we're there vending just to support the sister and to get the information to the people about their nationality and their birthrights. So we're going to be vending at this, and we're also going to be doing workshops with regard to nationality and birthrights. All right, so just check out torontonaturals.ca for more information. Secondly, this Sunday we got Skype lecture with Brother Casanova Bay, and the title of the lecture is From Negroes to Nobles. So for all the people out there who, you know, need some inspiration, this would be a good lecture to come to. I think this is the brother's first lecture. He has some videos on YouTube. Honestly, I'm not sure what the titles of them are, but he does have some things on YouTube. I think his YouTube is under Casanova Bay. Very studious brother, you know, so you know he's gonna bring it. And like I'm saying, this is the first of the New Moors lectures that we're gonna be doing out of the temple. So he is gonna speak on From Negroes to Nobles. Right? The title alone should spark some interest. If it doesn't, wait for it to go up on YouTube or come by on Sunday, 2533 Eglinton Avenue S, 2533A Eglinton Avenue S. Next, we're gonna we want to send high honors to His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie. You said, fam? All right.
Yeah.
July 23rd is the Earth Day of the Emperor of Ethiopia, the most popular, I'll say, Emperor of Ethiopia. So we're just going to go through some information with regard to that that individual. You know, put some things on the record, okay, right? So that, you know, we can. It's his day today, you know, so we give him a little piece, you know what I'm saying, right? We can't give a whole thing because, you know, we're all Noble Drew Ali, that's what we're at. But, you know, we came out of the Rasta school, you know what I'm saying, we know what's good, so we're just going to put some stuff out there, okay, right? So what we're going to start with is his going into exile, okay, right? When Mussolini was invading, and then he went into exile and all that, right? Okay. So after further debate as to whether Haile Selassie should go to Gori with or accompany his family into exile, it was agreed that Haile Selassie should leave Ethiopia with his family and present the case of Ethiopia to the League of Nations at Geneva. The decision was not unanimous, and several participants, including the noblemen Page Blada, Tekel, Waddle, Hawariat, objected to the idea of an Ethiopian monarch fleeing before an invading force. Haile Selassie appointed his cousin Ras Imru Haile Selassie as Prince Regent in his absence, departing with his family for Djibouti on the 2nd of May 1936. So
1936?
Yeah. So now just to touch on something now, right? So Haile Selassie appointed his cousin Ras Imru Haile Selassie, right? So that's a title that anybody could have. That's part of the royal lineage.
Yeah.
So it's not his own title.
No.
Like how people put it, like, you know, oh yeah, Haile Selassie, and then they only
and that's it.
Apply that to him only,
and no one else.
And nobody else has that. Like,
kings before
people have had that title, right? On the 5th of May, Marshal Pietro Badoglio led Italian troops into Addis Ababa, and Mussolini declared Ethiopia an Italian province. For those people who say that Ethiopia was never conquered or colonized or whatever, well, Mussolini was in there. And Ethiopia, for that period of time, was known as a province of Italy, right?
In Africa.
Right? Victor Emmanuel III was proclaimed as the new emperor of Ethiopia. Victor Emmanuel, right? Right? That's the inside joke for people out there, don't worry. Right? The new emperor of Ethiopia. However, on the previous day, the Ethiopian exiles have left Djibouti aboard the British cruiser HMS Enterprise. Right? So these Ethiopians, the monarchy, leaving Ethiopia on a British ship to go into exile. Right?
They don't have their own ship.
Right? They were bound for Jerusalem in the British Mandate of Palestine, where the Ethiopian royal family maintained a residence. So the Ethiopian royal family had a residence in Jerusalem.
Yeah, from the time.
It's been established.
They took him as a kid.
Right. Okay. Once there, Haile Selassie and his retinue prepared to make their case at Geneva. The choice of Jerusalem was highly symbolic, since the Solomonic dynasty claimed descent from the house of David. Leaving the Holy Land, Haile Selassie and his entourage sailed for Gibraltar.
The Strait of Gibraltar.
Yeah, right? Right? And from Jerusalem to Gibraltar, right? And then we all know Gibraltar is named after General Gibral Tariq, who was a Moor. He's not an African, not a black guy, not an Ethiopian, not an ancient Sumerian, Kushite, whatever. Moor. Right? Aboard the British cruiser HMS Cape Town, from Gibraltar, the exiles were transferred to an ordinary liner. By doing this, the government of the United Kingdom was spared the expense of a state reception. Right? Why is he going to go to Jerusalem? Right? Because, as it said, the Ethiopian royal family maintained a residence there. Why is the Ethiopian royal family going to maintain a residence in Jerusalem? Because since the Solomonic dynasty claimed descendant of the house of David, it's only logical that they were Israel.
You're of the same line.
Right? You're of the same line. You're of the line of David, right? Okay. So-called Israel, right? So when you go to Jerusalem, you have to go through Moors Gate, right? And if the Ethiopian royal family maintained a residence in Jerusalem, that means they've known about Moors Gate being there. So it's not a secret to His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie about Moors, right? It's something that is common knowledge to them. On top of that, they're claiming lineage of the Solomonic dynasty, which is connected to King David. And then King David is connected to Ruth, who was a Moabite, right? who Noble Drew Ali said that Moabite is the ancient name for Moroccan, and Moroccan is the long form of Moor, right? So they know about Moors. That's why His Imperial Majesty wore the triple crown, and the triple crown looks just like a fez without a tassel on it, right? For all the Rastafarians who want to argue that, oh no, he doesn't know about Moors, and you know, Moors are Berbers or whatever, right? Triple crown isn't a fez and all that, right? Standard that if you're a monarchy, you're a Moor, because the Moors are the nobles of the planet Earth, right? So back to Jerusalem now. The interesting fact, and this is from Moorsgate, not Moorsgate, Moorsgate.com. The interesting fact about Moorish territories in Jerusalem is the Moroccan connection. It was noted that the Moroccans built the quarters for centuries and that the Moroccans inhabited the area during the reign of Mamluki. The Moroccans developed and invested the estates wisely, as noted by other documents left by a Moroccan scholar named Al-Sheikh Al-Mujahid Omar Al-Urad Al-Musdi Al-Maghrib Al-Maliki. Moorish history is rich in the land commonly thought of as Jewish or Christian. Although it is recorded in the sacred scriptures of the Helios Biblios text, the Holy Bible, that the kingdom of heaven resides within, Jerusalem was looked upon as a divine land settlement by all spiritual and religious aspirants from the supposed seeds of Abraham. The uppermost inscription in the dome is a Quranic verse which begins, God, there is no God but He, the living, the self-subsisting, eternal. The lower inscription above the windows, according to the restoration of the building by Saladin in the late 12th century. As previously stated, Moorsgate stands as evidence that Moorish heritage is hardwired in the entire schematic of Jerusalem, the city of peace. Therefore, it would only make sense that the true occupants of the holy city of peace would be identified as the ones who are of peace, practicing a divine creed that represent the condition of being at peace via submission to the universal laws of the Most High. There are mysterious conditions behind Moorsgate, as it has a deep historical connection to the Knights Templar, the French Huguenots, and an Egyptian adept by the name of Dhul Nun al-Misri the Moor. So you could research him. D-H-U-L-N-U-N-A-L-M-I-S-R-I, the Moor, who taught moral science to the poor knights of Christ. This science would later become the royal science of Freemasonry, the ancient order of the Sons of Light, and Templarism, the alchemical science of the sacred feminine. Right? So, was hunting online today, and then found this picture. Now, everybody knows that right here is Noble Drew Ali wearing the standard headwear of the Moors, right?
Now you got this,
and then right here is Haile Selassie, right, wearing a similar pattern.
Looks leopard print.
It looks like leopard print, right? So we have the tiger print, and then we have the leopard print, right? Why would he be wearing this?
It's rocking the fez.
If he didn't know about the Moors, right?
Even the sash over the jacket too.
Everything. Right? But they're gonna say that no, he didn't know nothing about Moors, and you know, he's Ethiopian and all this type of stuff, when fraud. Deal with him in his correct status, or don't talk about the man. And secondly, if Haile Selassie is God, why is he going into exile if he's God? Like, why would God go? Like, why would God run from Mussolini?
You can't move.
Mussolini, the Italian guy, sausage boy, right? And then the Italians know about the Moors.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Italians know that the Moors came and conquered there, civilized there, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So Mussolini knows. That's why they went to Ethiopia, because they know that that's Kush.
That's Kush.
Right? You know? Okay?
But if you're a boss hog, you don't have to run.
Exactly.
If you're the boss, like
if you're the boss,
if you're the don, like you're
not running.
Like,
you're not sending anybody to do nothing.
Like
snap fingers.
Things
right?
happening.
If you know, if he was the lion petter and all that type of stuff, right? Like, you know, they like talking about, he humbled the lions and he humbled all these animals and whatever, right? Why is he running for? Right? Now, you know, we could speculate or whatever, but we'll go to 1939, right? 1939, movie came out called Wizard of Oz. With a Tin Man, a Scarecrow.
A lion.
Right? A lion.
A lion.
That was a coward.
Yeah, the cowardly lion.
Yeah, the cowardly lion that had to go get courage. Right? Okay, well, the cowardly lion
is this brother?
Is the Lion of Judah. Right? That's the only. If that movie is symbology, right? Everybody plays a part. Right?
Yeah, the Wizard of Oz has a lot of.
Okay, so there's a lot of symbology, right?
There's a lot of symbolism.
There's nothing that represents a cowardly lion other than Haile Selassie going into exile, because he is the Lion of Judah. Right? Just like Strawman is Strawman, all capital letters, doesn't know anything, whatever, right? The yellow brick road.
They go get brains.
Yeah, the yellow brick road is the gold standard, right? That they took away, and they took the gold out of the hands of the people and made roads with it, right? And Dorothy represents the Moors, who are home. Now all you have to do is click your heels twice and you're home. But you want to parade around and worry about flying monkeys and man behind curtains and all this type of stuff when you're home. You don't have to go anywhere. Just click your heels twice, get back your birthright, and be done with it, right? You know, further proof that he knew about Moors, right? Gamal Abdel Nasser. Now, Gabal Abdel Nasser, Gamal Abdel Nasser, was the second chairman of the Organization of African Unity. So you can research that organization. And he was in office from the 17th of July 1964 to October 1965, 21st of October 1965. Gamal Abdel Nasser was preceded by Haile Selassie in the chairman of the Organization of African Unity, and succeeded by Kwame Nkrumah.
Okay.
But this is Gamal now. So Gamal, since a youth man, wearing his fez, right? Gamal in the army or whatever.
In the army, right? The army rocks the fez.
The whole army is rocking the fez.
The whole army rocks the fez.
So it's impossible that Haile Selassie didn't know about Moors. It's impossible that he had nothing to do with Moors, because there were Moors all over the place. Right?
Yeah.
No secret. Right? So not only that, right? We're gonna go into archives now, and we're gonna read from Black Supremacy. This is the Rasta's own book. This is their book.
This is their book. Yeah, like
this is their stuff.
This is their
right?
stuff.
This is not more stuff. This is Rasta's stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Black Supremacy in Righteousness of Salvation. Jesus Negus Christ, Emmanuel I Selassie I Jah Rastafari, in Royal Majesty Selassie I Jehovah Jah Rastafari. And then they have Garvey on the front, right, wearing his fez.
The graduation cap.
The graduation cap, which is a fez. You call it graduation cap if you want, but that's a fez. Tassel on it, square. Right? All right. Page 56. The We are calling upon Jamaica youth of today to stop war and get right in themselves, in one unity of peace and love. Nothing too bad that can't come good. Stop the folly before we reach to it. United we stand. To take another man's strategy, which can't help us, would come away. Can't go to no man for help except the man who say he will free you, whoever that ruling power is in the country, and to come to one unity of salvation with a free heart of love, peace and love, Jehovah Jah Rastafari. I, Prince Emmanuel, will open an international reasoning. Anyone have any questions to ask from any group, they are free. Anyone who desires one black heart of righteousness in the black Christ is free. The black Christ, the Father who sent him, is greater than him, Jesus. We, the priests, prophets, disciples, apostles, are one, none higher than the other. Principles and dignity of black supremacy, the Father of God, the fatherhood of God, the brotherhood and daughterhood of God, freedom for all. These are the articles from the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. I don't hear Rastas talking about no Declaration of Human Rights as far as upholding something.
The articles of the Declaration.
All right. Okay. Now, understand that the concept might be twisted because black supremacy or black Africa and whatever. But the principle is right there. So they go Article 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? Then they skip 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They go to 13. Then they skip 13 and then he stops at 15.
Okay.
And Article 15 in the Declaration of Human Rights, everyone has a right to a nationality. No one shall be arbitrarily deprived of his nationality nor denied the right to change his nationality. This is the head Ras right now talking, right? I, Prince Emmanuel, nationality is Ethiopia, Black Africa. You know, I ain't no nationality, right? But he's talking about nationality.
Yeah,
he's not talking about civil rights or, you know, go march, picket to get something or whatever. He's talking about going to the UN. He's talking about nationality, right? I could not afford to change my nationality. It is our homeland. We want to go under our own vine and fig tree. Right? We want to go under our own vine and fig tree, right?
Yeah.
I know Noble Drew Ali said that, right? Yeah. Okay? And I know Marcus Garvey said that. And Marcus Garvey is the forerunner of the Moorish movement, right? He's the forerunner of the Prophet. So all this is relative, right? Give us equal and justice, and these fundamental rights under Article 15. Show these rights of human justice to come to one conclusion, to come under human justice, to dwell with international freedom of movement, freedom of traveling. This is black man's Bill of Rights. All these rights must be handed over. These are fundamental rights for the people's security. This is what I, Prince Emmanuel, is calling upon the world and the United Nations, for all these rights to come forth, for those who do not have any help, those at home and us abroad under Black Africa, Ethiopia. International repatriation for the freedom of all the people through 7 miles of ships, not 8 miles of ships, or 9 miles of ships, or 13 miles of ships, 7 miles of ships. 7 is the number of the Moors.
Yeah.
Right? The full House of Congress to participate with priests and prophets of God, God in flesh, in man and woman who is in this world. The evil world is colonialism and imperialism and capitalism. All these isms are to come out of flesh. Man must now take up social rights through the Human Rights Charter. These rights will bring forth equality and justice to all people universally, internationally. Set we the people free throughout this universal black earth now. One black God for us all. One aim, one destiny. God is love. Love is God. Let us all love. The press is ever welcome for any news media, radio, and TV. Also, let us get back to our Honorable Marcus Garvey's words that all people are to come in one unity. for our back is now against the wall. Who are those who come out of great tribulation and dip robes in blood of the Lamb? Black Moses stand. He came to lead his people with love and purity and shining light. The Father and the Son are one. When we see one, we see the Father. The Son is the true vine and the Father is the husbandman. Human Rights Article 15. A man is free to any state. No slavery, no bondage. Right? This is the races. So instead of these guys going and, you know, go in the park and go beat the drum for His Imperial Majesty's birthday, how about you study the Declaration of Human Rights, Article 15, because Ras Emanuel
put it in there,
right? So you know who he is. Always wearing his turban. You know, the Moors wearing a turban, right? Always wearing his turban, right? Prince Emmanuel told you, love in black supremacy internationally through all human rights, and stressing the fact of Article 15, that everybody has a right to a nationality and nobody shall be arbitrarily be deprived of their nationality or to change their nationality. So nationality is the order of the day, even to Rastafarians, but they don't want.
if they're studying.
They don't want that, right? They want to play around, right? And it's not even something that is hard to obtain. All you have to do is proclaim it. That's all. Just proclaim it, right? No. You're going to go online and you're going to look up The Great American Adventure, Secrets of America.
It's a book?
It's a article.
Okay.
And the article is by Judge Dale.
A judge in America?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right? This is the judge, right? Preface. I didn't plan on writing part 5, but given the global movement in play to collapse the fiat financial dominance historically created and controlled by the Vatican, European royal and elite, plus the retaliatory efforts by the United States corporation to recoup their control of America, I felt a need to point out the flaws in their corporate process. The judge talking.
So that's the thing.
Right.
It's not crazy on the street talking. It's not baby mama yelling talking. This guy's a judge. This
As a
gentleman
judge.
is in the
Retired
system.
judge.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's been educated in the system, worked in the system. That was his thing.
Been there, done that.
Lawyer, judge.
Put so much people in prison, probably
Exactly.
felt guilty and said,
And
you know what?
he understands a little bit more of the law than maybe the average person.
Than the average person.
You know what I mean? He's read articles that the average person not gonna not gonna read.
Right. You probably identify with this corporate process as a legal process, but it really isn't about what is legal or lawful, because all process is about the enforcement of contracts or the imposition and enforcement of corporate regulations called statutes. The best advice you will ever receive is to avoid their courts whenever possible. There is no justice to be found in those courts unless you are a member of the Vatican, the royal or elite, or have purchased diplomatic immunity. Right?
He's telling you blatantly.
Telling you straight. The courts. The only constitutional court in America is the International Court of Trades, which was created because no foreign nation government would trade with the corporate United States until they proved a way for these foreign nations to enforce their trade agreements with America. Note, historically, the World Court was created to provide nations with a venue to enforce their trade agreements, but the corporate United States refused the court's invitation to participate because they were denied control over the court. All of the American courts are pseudo courts or fictions, and simply are corporate administrative offices designed to resemble courts and all their judges are simply executive administrators designed to resemble judges. The purpose of these pseudo-corporate courts are only to settle contract disputes, and since George Washington's government was military in structure, if either party refuses to participate, these courts cannot become involved in the dispute, and the dispute is dead in the water. My use of the term dead in the water is not a canard, because these pseudo-courts are unconstitutional courts of admiralty, the international law of the sea. The Washington Monument was completed in 1884 as a tribute to George Washington and his military government, which is actually a sea-level obelisk that infers that all of America is underwater, and thus subject to the laws of admiralty, as opposed or contrary to the intended constitutional civilian government under common law. The pseudo-judges of these pseudo-courts have no powers without the consent of both the plaintiff and the defendant.
Can you say that again?
These pseudo-judges of these pseudo-courts have no powers without the consent of both the plaintiff and the defendant. No consent.
So here, understand what that means.
Right? They have no consent.
Means.
Right? And then that goes back to what we were talking about last week with impropriate persona. And that if the plea is made by an attorney, it admits the jurisdiction of the court, because the attorney is the officer of the court, which means that the attorney obtained leave, which is what he's talking about. That's how they get their power. Because the plaintiff and the defendant are usually,
even though they seem like they're on either side,
right,
really in agreement based on the fact that you're in the same court at the
but
same time you let these people deal with.
But the plaintiff and the defendant should be two individuals in proper person, not two individuals that hired lawyers
to represent
them. So because these two people have lawyers that represent them, now the court has jurisdiction and the court could go on. Even though they have no power. Because the United States government and all their offices have been dissolved since 1933. Right?
This is a judge telling you.
This is a judge. And in every case, the judge must determine that he has consent, personam and subject matter jurisdiction before he can act or access the Sesticii trust.
The Cestus.
Right?
What is that? What kind of trust?
Sesticii trust. Actually, while I'm reading that, oh yeah, you could read this. Yeah, just stop right there. Sesticii trust.
Oh, Sesticii trust.
So you just continue on.
Just read the end of this?
While I look this up.
Note: all tradable securities must be assigned a CUSIP number before it can be offered to investors. Birth certificates and social security applications are converted into government securities, assigned a CUSIP number, grouped into lots, and then are marked as a mutual fund investment. What the fuck? Motherfucker.
This is court right now.
Upon maturity, the profits are moved into a government Sesta Q trust. And if you are still alive, the certified documents are reinvested.
All right. So Sesticii trust. He who has a right to a beneficial interest in and out of an estate, the legal title to which is vested in another. The person who possesses the equitable right to property and receives the rents, issues the profits thereof, the legal estate of which is vested in a trustee. Right? So they're supposed to be trustees. Right? They're supposed to be trustees. And they're playing all these different roles. They're playing judges, lawyers, whatever. But again, because the people have no nationality, right? Because the people have no status, just like he was saying in the, this is the first one here. In every case, the judge must determine that he has consent, personam and subject matter jurisdiction before he can act or access the cestui trust.
Okay.
So status is the first issue at law.
And
jurisdiction is the second issue at law. And adjudication comes after the judge, the lawyers, stenographer, court recorder, whatever, everybody who's in there puts their status on the record. When you put your status on the record, now we got to see if we have jurisdiction based on the status that's on the record. So if the status on the record is, my name is Judge whatever, Judge Dale, right? My status is European, and I'm plaintiff, and my status is Moorish American, and then you're plaintiff and your status is Chinese.
Okay, yeah, something.
That's diversity. Which means everything's supposed to be dismissed. Everybody go home because he can't hear it because he doesn't. This is not his land. He can't even be a judge here, right? More than likely, the defendant, right? He's gonna have some jury that doesn't have anybody looking like him on it, right? And then the plaintiff, his position is void too because everybody else's position is void. But if they have the term that he's using throughout this whole thing, pseudo, if they have a pseudo court, then they can do all this stuff.
It's a pseudo court.
It's a fake court.
So they can do,
or they might call it quasi.
Yeah.
Quasi court. Which means they could do these fake things, right? They can give people 15, 20 years for
So this gentleman who's an actual judge, who sat through all of this, who's, tried people, put people in jail, let people go, see men versus men, women versus whoever arguing, husband and wife arguing, whatever. This guy went through all that and he's saying it's all fake.
And remember, he had this knowledge even when he was throwing people in jail and stuff.
Me doing my job, right? My quote-unquote job, is just a joke.
It's just a joke. Me doing my job is it's like the people who,
it's fake. It's like
the brother last week that brought the information with all these weapons that they're using or whatever. You know what I mean? And or it's like Eric
Snowden.
Right. That eventually you just if you have any common sense and you're what I mean? You'll just say, hold on a second.
Eventually you're gonna say,
this is not right here. Like this is not right. Right? Even though there's people going on making 50, 60, 70, 185 million dollars a minute. Right? And you were in that, making that, you're gonna stop and say, you know what? I can't even deal with this. Right? Like I can't even deal with this. Right? So you're gonna go in there because you're not even gonna go into all this because it's a good size article, but the Great American Adventure, Secrets of America, right? And he goes into everything. He goes into the criminal process, that there's no criminal laws in America. He talks about the all capital letters name on the birth certificate and the licenses and all that. He exposes it all. He exposes it all. He exposes it all.
I gotta get that book. I gotta get that book.
Right. We'll just close out with this part right here. Also, should you accidentally find yourself in a mental hospital, the psychiatrist who is assigned or appointed to evaluate you is just as corrupt as the judge, clerk, and county attorney, and he will falsify all of your responses to him just so that you are recommitted back into the mental facility with a review in 6 months. So lie to him and deny that you ever made such remarks. Of course, if you accept the criminal charges, your birth certificate, then you will instantly be deemed sane. Sorry that I had to be the one to tell you this, but this is how corrupt many of my fellow judges truly are, and it should explain why my conscience caused me to retire early. Before I learned what was really going on, I believed that my duties and performance were entirely constitutional. I was lied to also. The judge coming out, saying all the same stuff that the Moors are saying. Right? He's not just speaking from a judge's perspective or whatever. He's saying stuff Taj been saying for the past 20, 30 years, what Grand Sheik Nature's saying, what Alim Bey is saying, what Sister Raz is saying, what Queen Valara was saying, what Grand Sheiks and Grand Governors all over the country been saying, right? Everybody's been talking about this, right? But a judge came out and told you. Now let's see if people take nationality serious, because you can go, it's online right now, The Great American Adventure, Secrets of America. And Judge Dale goes in, right? He goes in, right? Madness. Right? And we could also verify with regard to the psychiatry and the mental hospital thing, right? So lie to him and deny that you ever made such remarks. Of course, if you accept criminal charges, you're whatever, right? Mental facility. So that's what Brother Tallahassee did, right? Okay. One of the Moors out here, right? When he was a youth man, they used to put him, put the dunce cap on him or whatever, put him in the corner, make him face the corner or whatever, right? Yeah. They used to do this thing where they bring him to the room with the glass. Right, and then they show the blob pictures, and then what do you see or whatever? Right? Like some real, they did the ones to him, right? Yeah. And he would straight tell them, I see a blob.
Yeah, like, it's not a picture.
It's not a picture. It's a blob.
It's a blob.
Okay, what about this one? Oh, that's a blob.
Yeah, that's a blob. That's an ink spot or whatever.
That's an ink spot. Yeah. That's a whatever. Because random. Once you start going into that, well, it looks kind of like they already know that something's wrong with you because that's a blob. They know that that's a blob, right? And like he's saying, they're going to falsify the records. And you could even go on, if you go on Facebook, there's a brother on Facebook by the name of Shaquem L, who was from, another Moor from here, was on the bus listening to his headphones. Driver told him turn down his headphones. He's like, just drive the bus, shut the hell up, right?
I'm just here, you're just there.
They called boy them, dragged this man off the bus, threw him in the snow, did whatever to him, sent him to a madhouse for a month. And then he would be calling me from the madhouse reception, right, and dropping it like it's better than jail still, because you have bed, you got hot meals and whatever like that. Certain things are right.
Makes it a little
better, makes it a little better, but it's still,
if you're not paying attention, it'll get you.
It would get you, right? So we're talking about status, right? CNSN News. The Reverend Jesse Jackson, founder and president of the Rainbow Push Coalition, wants the United Nations human rights watchdog brought into debate over the shooting of Trayvon Martin. So this thing's still going on, right? Man's done buried and everything. Man already got off. These Negroes are still trying to get something, right? He wants the United Nations human rights watchdog brought into debate over the shooting of Trayvon Martin. Various parts of the UN human rights system have in the past weighed in on the February 2012 shooting of the 17-year-old, criticizing Florida's Stand Your Ground law, and in one case calling for reparation for the victims. But Jackson is proposing an investigation by the UN's top human rights apparatus, the Human Rights Council, a controversial body whose ranks include regimes with poor human rights records, including some of America's most vocal critics. Among the many and ongoing reactions to the acquittal, Jackson called in a statement for a national investigation of the racial context that led to Trayvon Martin's slaying. Congress must act, he added. Now remember, James Traficant came in the 90s and told the people that the United States government and all their offices are dissolved. And the United States exists in name only. There's no power vested in the so-called United States right now.
Mm-hmm.
Jesse Jackson should know that.
Mm-hmm.
Because he has to be at least be a 31, 32, 33 degree Mason.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So he has to know that United States is dissolved.
Jesse knows.
Right?
Whether he says it or not.
Whether he says it or not, he's supposed to know.
Mm-hmm.
So if he's talking about Congress must act, right? And it's time to call the United Nations Human Rights Commission for an in-depth investigation of whether the U.S. is upholding its obligations under international human rights laws and treaties. Right? The only way that the U.S. is going to uphold any obligations under international human rights and laws and treaties is if it's a republic. Mm-hmm. And if it calls itself United States of America Republic, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. And if they admit that they're practicing human trafficking, peonage, slavery, genocide, and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. Because the biggest, the biggest violator of human rights on the planet is United States and Canada as one.
Yeah, together, for sure.
The biggest violators of rights in the whole entire world.
People wonder why.
Is the United States and Canada.
Why I would leave here. People are like, why do you want to leave Canada? Why would you leave Canada? Where are you going to go? Where are you going to go? Anywhere else. Anywhere else, okay? People are going to leave me the anywhere else.
Right? Every UN member state undergoes a HRC Universal Periodic Review every 4 years. And the next one examining the US record is not scheduled until 2015. Right?
They're not going to review till 2015.
Yeah. So every 4 years they're supposed to get a review of their human rights, whatever, and are they violating or are they keeping whatever and all that, which isn't gonna happen because this is a private corporation. Just go read Judge Dale's thing and you'll figure out that it's a corporation that you're dealing with, and corporations can't belong to the UN. Simple. Only nations. Even though UN now is a corporate body that's dealing with corporate nations, right? The principles that created them are still applying to republics and individuals who have nationalities, and once you have nationalities then you can demand that they uphold these rights. If you don't have a nationality, then you're marching and picketing for nothing. Right? Which is where these guys want our people to be at, right? The Reverend and them, right?
Yeah, he wants us out there with the thing.
Several other cogs in the UN human rights system already have taken note of aspects of the Martin shooting. Days before Zimmerman was indicted in April 2012, at a time when local, state, and federal inquiries had been underway for weeks, UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Navi Pillay called for an immediate investigation into the shooting. So if the High Commissioner for Human Rights is calling for immediate investigation into the shooting, and there was no immediate investigation into the shooting, that lets you know that the jurisdiction that she's pointing at and saying you guys need to invest those guys obviously aren't compatible with the protocol of the UN for there to be an investigation. Right? Coming back to the same thing with James Traficant saying that the United States is dissolved. This is a private corporation belonging to Europeans.
So the UN couldn't even come in.
The UN can't even come in and do anything.
Enforce.
But the people can go to the UN, but only if they have a nationality, which is the same thing that Ras Emmanuel was saying. That we're going to the UN and make a complaint. We're not telling them come on over and see all the violations that are going on. We're going to take our stacks of stuff and we're going over there to make a complaint on them, right? Now, remember also that when these guys talk, they're talking about and just go check the stuff, and you'll hear them talking all about civil rights and civil this, civil that, civil rights needs, people's civil rights need to be everybody's equal under the law and all this type of stuff, right? The Supreme Court of the United States, in nearly unanimous decision, declared the Act of Civil Rights unconstitutional in 1883. Now, if these guys are 33-degree Masons, whatever, they're supposed to know that. That the Civil Rights Act that they're using to get people to go march, picket, whatever, is unconstitutional.
That's so crazy.
And the Supreme Court is the highest court. So if the Supreme Court says something, then that's what it is. Civil rights was struck down as unconstitutional.
So
and
why do they say that? What's wrong with the act that they say is not up to par? I guess
it's just not. You have to be okay. The Supreme Court of the United States, in a nearly unanimous decision, declared the act unconstitutional in the civil rights cases 1883, with Justice John Marshall Harlan providing the lone dissent. The court held the Equal Protection Clause within the 14th Amendment prohibits discrimination by the state, but it does not give the federal government the power to prohibit discrimination by private individuals.
Okay.
So Zimmerman's a private individual.
Yeah.
So if he wants to shoot he can do that. Especially if it's it under the 14th Amendment, which is fraud, right? Because when we go to the original 13th Amendment, right, with its 20 sections, right? The original 13th Amendment with its 20 sections, right? Section 12. The traffic in slaves with Africa is hereby forever prohibited on pain of death, and the forfeiture of all the rights and property of persons engaged therein, and the descendants of Africans shall not be citizens. So if the descendants of Africans, all these people who say that they came over here on a slave ship, they're descendants of Africans. Okay, well, they can't be citizens of the U.S. So if they're not citizens, why are they going to ask people about civil rights stuff and ask people about this and that? Why don't they just charge them for practicing the traffic in slaves? Because in order for them to be citizens, they have to be 14th Amendment. Or they have to have that birth certificate with the name in all capital letters, which makes them wards. That makes them minorities. And then minority is a status, not numbers of people. So if they have this status of ward, which means they're a child, but they're grown people, that's slavery. Right? And the traffic in slaves with Africa is hereby forever prohibited on pain of death. So everybody in the government is supposed to get put on a wall and firing squad. And all their stuff's supposed to be taken. Because they're violating the supreme law of the land, which is the Constitution.
And those are in the Constitution.
That's in the Constitution. Well, that's in the maybe like the older Constitution that they got out the way, and then they put their own little things so that because niggers don't read, right? They don't even know that there was a 13th Amendment with 20 sections. They don't even know that the original Constitution was only the right. Like, they don't even know that the U.S. and the U.S.A. and the United States of America Republic are three different entities. Because they don't read. They want to be told everything.
They just think George Washington signed the Declaration.
Yeah, and then that's it.
From that, the
and that's
man knows it.
Right? Which is why Moors push study, study, study. Because if you don't study, you're going to get yourself caught up in a jurisdiction that you don't want to be caught in. And you're going to be sorry, guaranteed. Ask Trayvon Martin. Ask all these guys that got shot up by police, run over by police and all that. Right? Ask all these people who got killed by police, their family. Ask them. Wait, what happened with that kid? Oh yeah, officers got off scot-free, with pay. Still has his job. He killed my son and all that.
Yeah, trust me.
And none of them are held liable when they had the dash cam rolling when they kicked their son's ass and killed him. And you never got nothing for that.
Nothing.
Not no payout, nothing.
Madness, eh?
You just they just did that and you have no remedy or recourse.
Nothing.
Right? That's the importance of status. Because if you had a status, right, when that happened, you'll be able to take all those clowns to international criminal court for violating the national. Right? It's like with Amadou Diallo. Right? He had to be naturalized in order to be here. He wasn't no national. Not because he has the name Diallo means that he's, you know what I mean, a national. He was naturalized. But then remember, descendants of Africa can't be citizens. So if you're not a citizen, what are you? If you're not a citizen?
Property.
If you're not a citizen, the only thing you can be is property. Period.
Yeah, that's it.
There's no, that's what it is. Right? And then they have all these leaders, these black leaders, these agents, sellout niggers, right? Telling people to risk their life to go out there and go march for something that you're not going to get when you go out there and march. The objective of a march, petition, whatever, is to cause something to happen. You're not just going to go out there and march,
and nothing happens.
Police come, water hose, put dogs on you, billy club you, and then you just go home, and then the next day you just go to work or whatever, and that's it. Nothing changed. All these people marching, million man march, million youth march, all these marches, protests, whatever, and nothing changed. Doesn't that tell you that it's time to change your mode of operations? And that's why they haven't changed nothing. Because they're doing this, it's the same stuff that they're doing. They got the nigger, go out. Yeah, well, we think that this is, what do you want it now? How do you want it now? Right? And then they just get everybody on that, on the emotionalism, right? Get them pumped up, you know what I mean? And go home. Cussing at your wife and cussing at your children or whatever, taking out your anger on them instead of going and dealing with the real enemy. Right? Right? Now what led to all of this, like these people having this power, right? And us having nothing, because we forgot who we are, right? And we want to be something that we're not. And we want to get recognized as human beings when everybody knows that we're property. Because we don't take responsibility for anything that we do. We just, somebody else do it. Jesus will do it. God will do it. And then when it doesn't happen, then we blame the devil and we blame the white man. Right? And you can't blame the devil because the devil's you. And you can't blame the white man because the white man's you. Right? And as soon as you say the devil did it or the white man did it and we need to get back at it, you're putting a hex on yourself. Because you really should be going after the European. And you really should be using your devilish self to do some devilish stuff to those people who deviled you. Instead of being high and mighty, I don't want to sin or whatever like that.
Like that, I gotta get make even on this.
You gotta make even on this. Eye for an eye. The Bible says, right? Eye for an eye. Poke me, I'll poke you back. Right? But they don't want to do that. But they'll talk a good game. They got pictures with the shotguns and all that. You know, everybody got the shotgun pointing at the picture, like, yeah, you know what I mean, kill crackers and all that. And none of these guys killed a cracker yet. These guys never tied up a skinhead or nothing took him to the back of nothing and beat nobody. No. But police do that with brothers every day. Every day.
We're pacifists.
Right? We love the passive approach. As a people, we love the passive approach. And it doesn't have to resort to violence. We could proclaim our nationality and just send them back to where they come from. Which is going to be the Caucasus Mountains.
Yeah.
Either go back to the Caucasus Mountains or live in peace and harmony over here under what we say.
Yeah.
Right? And what's that called? That's the Moorish Renaissance. Right?
It's funny that Detroit filed for bankruptcy, but Detroit is the Renaissance city. That's Detroit's name, right? It's the Renaissance. The nickname is the Renaissance city. It's almost like we're going back.
Yeah, we are going back.
Cities are dropping off the map.
Yeah, cities are dropping off the map, right? And what does that mean? If the city is saying we're bankrupt, right? If the city is saying that we're bankrupt,
you can't
then doesn't that mean that the city is not government, it's a corporation? Because only corporations go bankrupt. And even governments don't go bankrupt.
And then your corporation would dissolve if you went bankrupt. So it's like...
So that means there's no Detroit right now. Okay, so that means that everybody who's in Detroit, right, should proclaim their nationality, right? And go take over Detroit. Take all those houses or whatever that are just sitting there, all those abandoned buildings, whatever sitting there, go down there. You can go to RVBA website, get the permit, print out the permit, put your name on it, plaster it on the building, go up in that building, fix that building, and let's start taking stuff back over. But they're not going to do that, right? When literally that's what they should be doing.
That's what you can do right now.
That's what you can do right now in Detroit. You can go to Detroit, put a permit on a building in your free national name.
I mean, if your city's bankrupt, you can't pay the cops, you can't pay the firemen, you can't...
Nobody.
There is no...
Yeah, but see now, this is the thing now. If that city's bankrupt, what's going to happen with all these other cities that in the surrounding area? Because bankruptcy only goes downhill. Right? Like, eventually, it's going to hit everybody if that one fell off. Right? You know, all those people who say that they're Moors, right? And they're in Detroit, right? That is dissolved. That's bankrupt. All that proper, like, this is what we're talking about with, if you're going to go claim something, now's the time to go claim something. Don't worry about, just go claim something. All these homeless people, nationalize all these homeless people. Just go to them one by one. Yo, your name's Albay, here's a permit. Go stick it on that building and go live there.
Well, in some places in the world, if you squat somewhere long enough,
it's yours.
It's pretty much it's yours. And that's just like 7 years here. Okay, go and sign the paper at the office. Okay, stamp that. Bam.
That's it.
Even if someone owns it, they can come the next day.
They can't do that because they're bankrupt. There's no office to go sign no paper. That's just property sitting there. Yeah, it might be roach infested and rat infested and whatever, but that's because you never claimed it. So roach and rats claimed it. You know, so how about we just kick those guys out, right, and go claim back all that stuff. Especially if you're there. Especially if you're one of these people who you know, got coerced by the city. You know, we want to build whatever here, so we're gonna need you to sell us your house, so we can tear your house down and build this department store or whatever. All those people there who still live there, yo, it's all about claiming time right now.
Imagine you claim the whole mall and you just like, the mall was your house.
Why not?
Why
not? Why not? But if Moors had their stuff together, this is what Noble Drawley was talking about, that one day all the property is going to go back to the government. One day all the property is going back to the government. What perspective are we looking at that in? That's prophecy. All the property is going back to us. Because we're actually the government. Not the private corporation who we've been pretending like they're government. Right? You know? But like we were saying, it's the Renaissance happening over again.
Yeah.
Where the Moors have to come and get this United States and Canada out of the Dark Ages. Just like we did in Europe. Exact same thing happening. That's why you can't blame the white man. Don't blame the devil.
It's a waste of energy.
It's a waste of energy.
Whatever you
just proclaim your nationality, go and start claiming your stuff back. Because since 1933, it fell. Right now, it's implosion time right now. It fell since 33. Since 33, they've been pushing fiat. Fiat, pushing fiat. Fake money to pay for this, fake money to pay for that. You're going to go bankrupt.
I had some bills today and I was looking at it and I'm like, this isn't even real. These bills aren't even...
It's not even real.
You want $100, the phone wants money, this wants money, insurance wants money. Not even real. Why
am I paying you guys?
If I had it, I'd give it to you. It's not even real. If I had it, you could have it. It's not even real.
It's simple as that, yo. Like that's how logical it is. If everybody said, yo, you know what? I'm not paying you guys nothing. Who are you guys? Show me who you are. Show me some type of documentation that proves to me that you're legit. Because everything that you send to me, if I go to the Bill and Exchange Act, right? If I go to the Bill and Exchange Act, that's going to tell me that a bill has to be signed in blue ink by the person giving it. That's their act that they created. It says in there that if somebody sends you a bill, it has to be signed by the person giving it to you. You ever see a bill with a signature on here that says bill on it? And most of the time, they're sending you a statement of account that we assume is a bill. So if this says, okay, so you bill, B-I-L-L, and then you open the thing and it says statement of account. Why are we assuming that that's a bill and giving anybody anything? Like why are we but like niggas don't read, right? Let's see what bill is. Just quick fast. Since we're on this thing, right? Before we do this Renaissance thing, right? Bill. All right, bill. Right.
I see right there.
A formal declaration, complaint, or statement of particular things in writing. As a legal term, this word has many meanings and applications, the more important of which are enumerated below.
Have to enumerate them. What does that mean?
Huh? Right? Bill chamber. In Scottish law, a department of the court in session. Okay, well, that's not what a bill is. Okay, bill of privilege. In Old English, a method of proceeding against attorneys and officers. Okay, that's not what a bill is.
No.
Okay, like what we have in our mind is a bill, right?
Exactly.
Okay, bill of proof. In English practice, the name given to the Mayor's Court of London. Okay, well that's not what it is, right? Bill of Middlesex. An old form of process similar to a capias issued out of the court of the King's Bench in personal actions, okay, regarding the sheriff or whatever. Okay, that's not what a bill is. So like like we don't even know what a bill is. A bill is a formal declaration, complaint, or statement of particular things in writing. Bill doesn't have nothing to do with giving somebody money for some service or whatever that they provided for you or whatever like that.
That's what I'm saying. At what point? Where is the definition for that one?
Right? And again, like, yo, just like, okay, page 207, it says, just like how we're going bill of, okay, it's still going bill of.
Of course, that's what I'm saying.
208,
so many.
Bill of. Like through the whole alphabet, bill of A, bill of B, bill of C, bill of N, bill of F, bill of E, bill of I, bill of P, R, bill of Q, right? Like it just goes on and on and on. Bill, inland bill, grand bill, foreign bill, domestic bill, bill of health, bill of gross adventure, bill of parcels, bill of store, bill of sufferance, bill of sight, bill of entry, bill of appeal, bill of indictment, bill of cost, bill of particulars, bill. So which bill are they talking? Because they're not specific when they say, here's your bill. And if they're not specific, and then I sign the contract, then that means that that's fraud. Right? But do that next time, right? So the Renaissance.
That's interesting, man.
The Renaissance, right? If not for the Renaissance, the Europeans, Romans, would have continued to suffer under destructive, suppressive, and superstitious-laden Dark Ages. Europe would not have achieved the scientific and cultural capacity to expand into a world power in later centuries. Therefore, true European history, relative to its laudable advancements, would not have been made possible had it not been for the Moors. True European history and developments cannot stand as self-initiated. Truth projects that it must be told with honor and reviewed by acknowledging it as an absolute and indisputable appendage and tied to Moorish history. Therefore, let the record show that such truths have rarely been placed in proper and true perspectives, and should be summarily restored to contemporary literature. Right? The stench of medieval Europe. So this is during the Dark Ages, right? People normally associate different epochs with different smells. The Middle Ages smell of sewage and decaying bodies. German writer Patrick Susskind, the author of a well-known novel, Perfume, The Story of a Murderer, wrote in his book that the stench of Europe's cities in the late Middle Ages period was unbearable. His work conveys the terrible smell of human feces and urine in the streets, decaying wood and rat dung, spoiled coal and animal fat, moldy dust and chamber pots. Stench used to be an inseparable part of all human activities, constructive or destructive. The Queen of Spain, Isabel of Castile, confessed that she had taken a bath only twice in a lifetime.
What the fuck?
It's the Queen. This is the Queen, huh?
So they did twice
in a lifetime.
I bet she had sex more than twice in her lifetime.
Right?
Dirty woman.
Yo.
I do not want you to be in my country. I'll leave my own country.
A daughter of one of the French king died of lice.
Yeah, French people are dirty.
Dysentery and scab caused fatal termination to Popes Clement V and Clement VII correspondingly. Duke of Norfolk neglected bathing for religious reasons. As a result of such disregard, numerous abscesses dotted his body. Russian ambassadors at Louis XIV's court wrote that His Majesty stunk like a wild animal. Europeans considered Russians perverts because it was a tradition for the latter to take steam baths once a month.
Because they bathe.
They're perverts.
Yeah.
Right? European cities were buried in sewage. Town residents splashed the contents of garbage pails and wash tubs out onto the street on the heads of carefree passerby. Stagnated slopes made stinking pools, and a great number of town pigs crowned the whole picture. People emptied chamber pots right out their windows, making streets look like cesspools. Bathrooms were the rarest luxury. Fleas, lice, and bugs swarmed in rich and poor houses of London and Paris. Unsanitary conditions, diseases, and starvation personify medieval Europe as it was. Even the noble class could not afford to eat their fill. Noble families were happy if at best 2 or 3 of 10 children survived. Delivery was quite an undertaking for women. A third part of them died in labor. Street illumination was also poor. Oil lamps, splinters, or wax candles at best. Hunger, smallpox, leprosy, and syphilis disfigured people's faces. There were not any cleaning agents nor the notion of personal hygiene in Europe up to the middle of the 19th century. One Italian nobleman said in his memoirs that in the 16th century it was impossible to walk along the streets that resembled a fetid, steamed, or of turbid water. He had to hold a scented handkerchief or a small bouquet to his nose not to vomit. But not only feces poisoned the air, butchers slaughtered and disemboweled cattle right in the streets. They would scatter guts around and pour blood out onto the pavement. In late Middle Ages, people learned the process of waste and feces. Urine, for example, was used to tan leather and bleach cloth. Animal bones to produce flour. In days of old painters, placed barrels for urine near the farms. They used it to knead paints. In ancient Rome, they sold even the urine from latrines to wool dyers and leather tanners. What could not be processed was left in the street. Rain was the only street cleaner in those times. And still, notwithstanding its sanitary function, rain was considered a providential punishment. Rains washed dirt out of cracks, and raging sewage streams rushed through the streets, just like there appeared a small river, Murderon in France. If there were stinking found in the country, in cities people defecated in narrow side streets and yards. Only after the hydraulic revolution, aqueducts and gutters appeared. They provided houses with water and removed the sewage. And then you could go read more at english.pravada.ru. Right, english.pravada.ru. And then this is called The Stench of Medieval Europe Still Echoes Today. Right? So now the Renaissance. Ruling Spain, southern France, much of Scotland and North Africa during the Middle Ages for 700 years, the black African Moors, right? The black African Moors, not the blacks, not the Africans, but the black African Moors.
Attached to the title.
Attached to it. So if you call yourself black, you should attach more to it. If you call yourself African, you should attach more to it. People who study know that. People who don't study separate it and then try to make cliques out of these different things and cause separation amongst our people, right? The black African Moors gave Europe one of its finest civilizations. The word Moor is from Greek word moros, meaning scorched. In the introduction of The Story of the Moors in Spain by Stanley Lane Poole, John Jackson writes, Eurocentric historians argue that Europe gave civilization to Africa, which is a complete inversion of the truth. The first civilized Europeans were Greeks, who were chiefly civilized by the Africans of the Nile Valley. The Greeks transmitted this culture to the Romans, who finally lost it, bringing on a dark age of 500 years. Civilization was restored to Europe when another group of Africans, the Moors, right, brought this dark age to an end. During the golden age of Islam, the Moorish Empire was the most advanced state in the world. Cordova was the most wonderful city of the 10th century. The streets were well paved, with raised sidewalks for pedestrians. Public baths numbered in the hundreds. At a time when cleanliness in Christian Europe was regarded as a sin, Moorish monarchs dwelt in splendid palaces, while the crown heads of England, France, and Germany lived in big barns, lacking both windows and chimneys, with only a hole in the roof for the emission of smoke. The Moors had an insatiable lust for knowledge and acquired it from the east and west.
From the east and west.
The Moors had an insatiable lust for knowledge and acquired it from the east and west. Proving that we were on this side before the slave trade. Right? One king had a private library of 600,000 books. In Moorish Spain, education was available to the most humble, while in Christian Europe, 99% of the populace were illiterate, including the kings. The incredible city of Cordova had 800 public schools. The Moors made great advances in mathematics, physics, astronomy, medicine, botany, chemistry. The Moors also introduced the first shooting mechanisms or rifles, which revolutionized European military science, ultimately causing their downfall when their enemies used gunpowder to drive them back to Africa. Their contributions to European civilization is vast, with no credit given to them. The Found Fathers and all the U.S. presidents were Masons, except Lincoln and Kennedy. Masons and other secret orders such as the Rosicrucians, Illuminati are patterned after the sacred mystery schools, universities of ancient Egypt. The word Mason means child of the sun and is derived from the African terms sons and daughters of light, or children of the sun. The sun symbolizes enlightenment, hence these metaphors mean enlightened people. The Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution are Masonic documents written in the Masonic Code and have different meaning to members of the Masonic Order. Look on the back of the dollar bill and see for yourself how the Founding Fathers composed the Great Seal of America with African symbols: the Eye of Horus, the pyramid, the 6-point star, the eagle, and their imitation of Egypt's sacred sun falcon, a symbol for Horus. The Washington Monument, a symbol of America, is an African obelisk. The Lincoln Memorial is patterned after an Egyptian temple honoring the pharaoh Ramses II. Meridian Hill Park, aka Malcolm X Park, was designed to align Washington, D.C. to the same meridian pathway to the sun which passes through Egypt. So-called European architecture, like Capitol, Parthian cathedrals, is copied from African architecture. A black scientist designed the city. The layout and design of Washington, D.C. was accomplished by Africa's first black man of science, Benjamin Banneker, astronomer and mathematician. Right? And then we all know that they have Benjamin Banneker's fez in George Washington Memorial Museum, right? In Alexandria, Virginia. And then there's the Farmer's Almanac with Ben Bay on it. So he's not no black man that did anything, right? Benjamin Banneker was a Moor, high scientist, mathematician, astrologer, etc. Right? Major General Abraham Petrovic, or Hannibal, Ibrahim Hannibal, Abram Petrov, was an African kidnapped and brought to Russia. He became Major General, military engineer, governor of Reval, and a nobleman of the Russian Empire. He is perhaps best known today as the great-grandfather of Alexander Pushkin, who wrote an unfinished novel about him, Peter the Great's Negro. His origins are uncertain. The main reliable accounts of Abraham's life come from Pushkin's Peter the Great's Negro. Scholars argue that Pushkin's account may have been inaccurate due to the author's desire to evaluate the status of his ancestors and family. There are a number of contradictions between the biographies of Pushkin and the German novel The Blackamoor of Peter the Great. Right? And Major General Abram Petrovic. So this is a Petrovic right here. Right? With his turban, dark skin, obviously. His name is Petrovic. Right? Gustav Baden. I'm not going to read nothing about him. Just this is Gustav Baden.
Sweden.
Right? Gustav.
Queen Louisa Ulrica of Persia.
Right? Gustav. Ignatius Sancho. Ignatius Sancho. Right? Now, Ignatius Sancho, in his letter to popular novelist Lawrence Stern. Reverend Sir, it would be an insult on your humanity, or perhaps look like it, to apologize for the liberty I am taking. I am one of those people whom the vulgar and illiberal call niggers. Yeah, but N-E-G-U-R-S. N-E-G-U-R-S. Niggers. Right? I am one of these people whom the vulgar and illiberal call niggers. The first part of my life was rather unlucky, as I was placed in a family who judged ignorance and best the only security for obedience. A little reading and writing, I got unwearied application. Then we go down here. Of all my favorite authors, not one has drawn a tear in favor of my miserable black brethren, except yourself, and the humane author of Sir George Ellison. I think you will forgive me. I am sure you will applaud me for beseeching you to give 1/2 hour's attention to slavery, as it is at this day practiced in our West Indies. The subject handled in your striking manner would ease the yoke perhaps of many, but if only of one, gracious God. What a feast to a benevolent heart! And sure I am, you are an Epicurean in acts of charity. You, who are universally read and as universally admired, could not fail. Dear sir, think in me. You behold the uplifting hands of thousands of my brother Moors. Right? JFK, 7 days before his assassination. There is a plot in this country to enslave every man, woman, and child. Before I leave this high noble office, I intend to expose this plot. Right? Don't blame the white man, because the white man is us. Don't blame the devil, because the devil is us. Call the man what he is, a European. Pale European. Foreign European. Foreign alien European. But stop calling him white man.
Caucasian Euro.
Caucasian. What? But Euro. Don't call him devil, and don't call him white man. Right? Because the real devils are the black ones. Ain't nobody more devilish than some niggers. Forget about what European does. Everything he knows, he learned from us. Everything he knows, he learned from us.
Good or bad.
Good or bad.
And everything therein.
Right? And everything therein. Right? So, right now, we just want to go through all these different orders of, call them groups, right, that our people and Europeans belong to, that we might not have heard about, so we can just go do some research on them ourselves, so we can be clear as to who is out there, as well as if our people choose to belong to these organizations, right? Why don't they just come join the Moorish Science Temple and save themselves? Instead of joining all these other things that do not have your best interests at heart, right? Knights of Peter Claver is the largest historically African-American Catholic lay organization in the United States. Its roots in the church are deep. In 1909, 4 Josephite priests and 3 lay Catholic men started the organization in Mobile, Alabama, and are now located in 34 states. There is a junior supreme knight, junior supreme lady, along with junior district and state presidents and officers. Interested youth must have made their first Holy Communion. Member of the Knights of St. Peter Claver strive to render service to God and His Holy Church, render aid and assistance to the sick, blah, 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 blah. Right? Right? And there's the brothers and sisters wearing
These
fezzes.
are Catholics.
Right? Yeah, it's Catholics.
Mm-hmm.
Black
Fezzes,
Catholics
mm-hmm.
in fezzes
From
and
America,
sashes.
From America.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Okay. The Knights of Peter Claver.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So they can't say no that they don't know about Moors. They were in fezzes. Right? It's not no Illuminati or whatever. This is some Catholics.
Mm-hmm. So some people go to
This
church.
is just people who go to church.
Their thing is just church.
Their thing is just church. They're not trying to take over the world or nothing like that. Just church. But they got fezzes on and sashes. Shirt and tie.
Men and women.
Men and women. And women wearing fezzes. For all those Moors who wanted, why do women wear fezzes for? They're supposed to wear turban. Like, right? Okay. The International Alliance of Catholic Knights. The IACK was founded in Glasgow on 12th of October 1979 at a meeting of the leaders of 6 fraternal societies convened in the occasion of the Diamond Jubilee of the Knights of St. Columba. The organization is headquartered in Dublin, Ireland. The IACK is currently an associate member of the Conference of International Catholic Organizations. So again, you know, some more Catholics. These aren't no Illuminati trying to take over the world. They're just Catholic people wearing fezzes, have temples, just that's all, right? Knights of St. Columba, Knights of Columbus. Right, you know, we see them, Knights of Columbus.
Well, yeah,
you see them in the
Knights
mall
of
and whatever,
Columbus,
right?
Yeah.
Right. Knights of St. Columbanus, Knights of the Southern Cross, Knights of the Southern Cross, New Zealand, Knights of the Gamma, Knights of Marshall, Knights of Malumba, Knights of Peter Claver, Knights of St. Virgil, Fraternal Order of St. Peter's and Paul, Knights of St. Gabriel, Knights of St. Thomas the Apostle, the Order of Our Lady Queen of Peace, Knights of St. Maur. Right? All those are part of the International Alliance of the Catholic Knights. Right? The Ancient Order of the Druids is a fraternal organization founded in London, England, 1781, still operates to this day. Priest-like figures on Iron Age Celtic paganism. As such, the order was an early influence upon the development of Neo-Druidic movement. In fact, any discussion on religion or politics is forbidden within the lodge rooms. Instead, its members are expected to preserve and practice the main principles attributed to the early Druids, particularly those of justice, benevolence, and friendship. The Ancient Order of the Druids, right? And then you see the Druid up there, and then you see him wearing the King Tut headwear, right? So you know that they know about Moors, because if they know about King Tut and Egypt, they know that the Moors are the custodians of ancient Egyptian culture, right? And then you know that the Moors were the ones who built Stonehenge, and then that's what the Druids rep, right? Reverence of Mother Nature or whatever, right? 8 points in favor of the Druidic order. Because it is the oldest order in the world, because it is based upon sound universal principles, because its object is to unite men together irrespective of nationality or creed, right? Because through a well-regulated system of dues it affords protection in sickness and in death, because it cares for the widows and orphans of deceased members, because it believes in the universal brotherhood of man and as such does not interfere with religion or politics, because if you travel you will find Druids always willing to help you in business or otherwise, because Druidism advocates absolute respect to the flag and obedience to the laws of the country under which you live. If you will join the American Druids, a branch of the United Ancient Order of the Druids of the world, you will be a better citizen. The same thing Noble Drew Ali said about the temple. If you join the temple, it will make you a better citizen. Because that's what our job is, to get our people better citizens. How you become a better citizen? By studying constitutional law, understanding civics, jurisprudence, laws of nature, all the things that will allow yourself to have knowledge or be enlightened. It's the only way you're going to be a better citizen, right? Side note, Queen Guinevere Pendragon, known as Gwen to her friends, is the widow of Arthur Pendragon, one of the best friends of Merlin, who was a Druid. So Merlin the magician. He's like the top Druid, right? All the Druids, Grand Wizard, right? Merlin, the sister of the late Sir Elvin, the daughter of blah blah. This sister, Angel Colby, right, played Queen Guinevere, Guinevere, right? Sister played Queen Guinevere of Europe, and all Europeans are mad at the Merlin people. Just go look it up online. Really? Yo, all these blogs about Europeans. Came out? No, it's a series, a TV series.
Okay.
Europeans mad. Why you have a black lady playing a queen in Europe? Right? Moorish Renaissance, that's why. Right? Moorish Renaissance, that's why. Nobody else could play the part.
They don't want to study their own history. Just like we say, we don't want to read. Our people don't want to read up, and we don't want to educate ourselves and learn about our own history. They don't want to learn about their own history. The girls are angry because they don't want to learn the real deal.
Straight, right? Everybody knows Submariner, right? Right? Everybody knows Submariner, right? Submariner, number 3. The Druids of Blackamoors. The Druids of Blackamoors were a sect of Druids that resided in Ireland thousands of years ago. A peace-loving civilization, they lived and practiced their religion around a formation known as Rockhenge. Right? Rockhenge, right?
Stonehenge, Rockhenge.
In 1941, they would be discovered by a group of Nazis who would convince the Druids, particularly that the headstrong Celtics, or Cestus, that the British were warmongers and sought to whatever, and then Namer would locate the hidden Druids and then show the Druids that, it's not really, the Nazis are really your enemy or whatever, and then they form a link and then they get to live with Namer in the ocean and all this type of stuff. Crazy, right? Submariner. You already know Submariner. You already know, right? The Order of the Solar Temple, also known as Order du Temple Solaire, and the International Chivalric Organization of the Solar Tradition, or simply as the Solar Temple, is a secret society based upon existence of the ideals of the Knights Templar. OTS was started by Joseph de Mambro and Luc Drouet in 1984. Some historians allege that the Solar Temple originates with French author Jacques Breuil, establishing a sovereign order of the Solar Temple in 1952. Right? And then the Solar Temple, right? This is their logo right here. And then in ancient Kemet, right? We have the symbol of the two Herus facing each other. And they took the two Herus and made them one, right? One with two heads, and that's a pattern that they have, in Nazis and all these people, right? Always jacking our stuff because we don't want it. Then they jack our stuff, form some secret organization, and then they rule the world. And then we're sitting here blaming devils and blaming white man, and when just get back on your science. Get back on what they have. What they have is our stuff, right? The Ancient Order of Foresters.
Okay.
Right? Ancient Order of Foresters. Philanthropy and virtue featured prominently in the principles and rule of the society. The object of forestry is to unite the virtuous and the good in all sects and denominations of man in the sacred bonds of brotherhood, so that while wandering through the forests of this world, they may render mutual aid and assistance to each other. Like Freemasonry was open to anyone believing in a creator. Just as its lodges were called courts, the officers of the society used the titles of officials of the medieval forest courts, such as Ranger and Woodward. So their whole thing goes back to freaking Robin Hood, and
that's what I was gonna say.
That was their
That's what I was gonna say.
mentality. You know what I mean, right? People were like John and Big John and whatever stuff like that, right? Now, picture might not be too clear, right? But you can see right here. This is their crest, right?
You can see what's going on.
Right. So they have their crest right there, right?
They're standing in
Some Europeans here. Then there's a
side.
Native right here.
Yeah.
And then behind the native, right? There's a man
like
with a turban,
yeah,
with a feather in it, right?
Like overseeing the whole.
Just overseeing the whole plate, right? Wearing his Moorish vest and everything, right? The ancient order of the Foresters. So everybody's taking and using Moorish science in order to better themselves.
And in Robin Hood, the Sherwood Forest where Little John and them were at was supposed to be like haunted. So like the regular, like, you know what I mean? People didn't go in there.
Didn't go in there.
They didn't want to go in there. Like something was in there, or people were in there.
Right. Right. The grotto grew out of informal meetings by members of Hamilton Lodge number 120 in Hamilton, New York, who wished to seek relaxation from the sterner duties of life by holding occasional informal meetings for fun and good fellowship, and play practical jokes on each other. So, just some people, right? No, right? Nothing to do with devil worshiping, going to the coffin, nothing like that.
No.
They just want to have a little social club that they can go chill, right? It is a social organization for Master Masons, and as such, all Master Masons are welcome to join. It encouraged renewed interest in the Blue Lodge, though it makes no claim to be part of symbolic craft masonry. Members are distinguished by a black fez with a red tassel and a mokana head in the middle, right? Everybody's on our stuff, and we don't want our own stuff. We want to go march and picket to get some rights, when we can join the temple, right? Learn to be better citizens, so we don't get ourselves in madness that it seems that we're the only ones that get ourselves in madness, end up marching and picketing for foolishness, right?
The most extreme, like 1 in a million chance, like
nobody else. Everybody else
happens to us. We're the ones.
Yeah, we're the only ones, right? You know, a plane's gonna go crash with all these Indians on it or whatever, Hindus on it, and plane company's gonna pay them out so it doesn't go to court. Every single person who lost a family member on that flight get a check.
Yeah.
And all these people who's had people shot up by police or whatever, the police aren't coming giving nobody no checks or nothing like that. How come? Because if you're not national, you don't have no respect. Nobody will respect you. They don't care about you. They're going to treat you like property. And everybody is using our stuff, right? Everybody's using our stuff. And nationality is our stuff because we were the first nationals. So people even took that
concept.
Even that concept people are taking, right? Coming over here, making progress, right? Like how we talk about over here about Toronto being the most multicultural city in the world, where everybody from every country come here and guarantee you they have a bank machine or a bank or a store or something in their own language. With no English. And then we're here and we can't even get a convenience store. We can't get anything. But all these other people who don't even speak English, people who don't even care, they don't even care who the mayor is. They don't even care if somebody's racist or whatever. They just do what they have to do. They're not sitting there complaining about, well, you know, we need an Asian mayor in order for us to be able to have Asian town, or we need a Scandinavian mayor. for us to have some rights as Scandinavians in Toronto. Nah, they come over here, they do what they're supposed to do. And we've been here, and we're not doing what we're supposed to do. Why we're in the situation that we're in. Right? The Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. Influence on the Golden Dawn concepts and work include Christian mysticism, Kabbalah, Hermeticism, ancient Egyptian religion, theurgy, Freemasonry, alchemy, theosophy, astrology, Eliphas Levi, Papus, John D. and Edward Kelly, Enochian magic, and Renaissance grimoires, as well as Anna Kingsford and Frederick Hockley. Both Thoth and Hermes were gods of writing and of magic in their respective cultures. Thus, the Greek god of interpretive communication was combined with the Egyptian god of wisdom as a patron of astrology and alchemy. In addition, both gods were psychopomps, guiding souls to the afterlife. The Egyptian priest and polymath Imhotep had been deified long after his death and therefore assimilated to Thoth in the classical and Hellenistic period. Right? The Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. And then they have a picture of Hermes Trismegistus, who is Thoth. Right? And then you can just see all the different symbology or whatever that's in here, arrowheads and spearheads and man holding an orb, and you know what I mean? You know, you can see over here the caduceus right here. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Right? Everybody jacking our stuff, starting up their little order. And then we can't get anything. We want to know how come we're in the situation that we're in. Right? The independent order of odd fellows. Right?
Yeah.
Right?
I've heard of the odd fellows.
Independent order of odd fellows, right?
He was an odd fellow.
And then here they have their.
He's their founder guy.
This is their past grand sires. They call all their people sires, right? So they have the Eye of Allah at top with the pyramid on the top, right? So you know that they're on some Moorish science, just because they got the Eye of Allah out there, which is really the Eye of Heru, which is really the pineal gland, right? Right. So if you take this and you go like this, right, then you have the two eyes right there. You know, you have the right
in the middle.
Okay, the third eye, and then two eyes, big mouth open, right? Okay, these people know what they're doing, not just doing something, you know, right? They're not just doing something. Like they're studying us and they're applying what they learn from us, right? You know, that they're going to have this up in their little temple or whatever, and everybody's going to come and, you know, they're going to recognize the sires, right? And then notice, right, how they have this set up, that you have Allah, right, at the top, right? Then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then the guy in the 13. Right? The Last Supper. Right? Or the sun with the 12 planets around it. Which is more science. Right? You know what they're doing. Everybody's losing it, especially our side. Owls, the Independent International Order of the Owls. Its objectives were to promote recreation and sociability among the members. Only Master Masons were eligible to join. Its local units were called nests. The head officer of each nest was known as a sapient screecher. The national body was called Supreme Nest of the World. Right? Order of Owls. Some Master Masons, they even have an owl mascot in the back and all that. Right? And this is just to show you that everybody knows, people who we know, who I never heard about no independent international order of owls. Right? And they have feathers on. When you go on their website and stuff, when they go deeper into it, you see that they're dealing with more science. Mm-hmm. Right? P.E.O. Protect every orphan. P.E.O. Protect every orphan. Yeah. Another, social group, right? Meaning of P.E.O. organized name has been made confused. Several independent published sources have indicated that it stood for Protect Every Orphan. In 2008, the Sisterhood revised its website to indicate the P.E.O. stands for Philanthropic Educational Organization. Okay. And then their poster that they go around the world with, right? Their slogan poster, right?
Their go-to picture.
It should be our purpose, not only to make P.E.O. better and greater of all the time, but that womanhood and humanity should be better and greater because of P.E.O. Mary Allen Stafford, founder. Right? And this is some European organization, and they have a sister as when you pull them up, this is what you see. When you go on their website, this is what they show. Sister, wear the fez on, right? Again, using our stuff. Right? We're not going to use the sisters, right? All these males want to be heads of temples and all this stuff. All these males want to be the ones to save the nation or whatever. What's the European doing? Take a sister, put her on the thing, and go around the world pushing their agenda, using the sister, right? Because they know that
to sell the product.
She's God. If anybody's gonna sell your product, sister will sell your product, guaranteed, no questions asked. Right? We're sitting on here on some patriarchy, right? The improved order of red men. Some Europeans. This is not some Europeans, right? The improved order of red men traces its origin to certain secret patriotic societies founded before the American Revolution. On December 16, 1773, a group of men, all members of the Sons of Liberty, go look them up, met in Boston to protest the tax on tea imposed by England. When their protests went unheeded, they disguised themselves as Mohawk Indians, proceeded to the Boston harbor, and dumped overboard 342 chests of English tea. The improved order of red men. All Europeans. Pale foreign Europeans dressing up like Moors or natives of the land, Mohawks, Mohawks, dressing up like Mohawks, right? To go protest some tea crap.
Looks like a turtle shell there.
Right?
These people are crazy.
These people are crazy. But if we're not going to use our stuff, then they're going to use it. Right? The name of the degree of Pocahontas. Again, right? Europeans start up an organization called the Degree of Pocahontas. Patterns itself after the virtues of this Native American princess, whose virtues of teaching, kindness, love, charity, and loyalty to one's nation. Even though they killed her, right? They're gonna take her and they're gonna rep her, right? Even though they killed her, right? Last but not least, Prince Hall. Prince Hall was interested in Masonic fraternity because Freemasonry was founded upon ideals of liberty, equality, and peace. Prior to the American Revolutionary War, Prince Hall had 14 other free black men petition for admittance to the white Boston St. George Lodge. They were turned down. So because they were turned down, they applied to the Grand Lodge of England. The Grand Master of the Mother Grand Lodge of England, H.R.H., the Duke of Cumberland, issued a charter for the African Lodge Number 1. Author and historian James Sidbury said, Prince Hall and those who joined him to found Boston's African Masonic Lodge built a fundamental new African movement on a pre-existing institutional foundation. Within the movement, they asserted emotional, mythical, and genealogical links to the continent of Africa and its people. Go back to that same thing again. You're connecting yourself back to Africa. Don't talk about you're a citizen of nowhere. Because you just oust yourself from society by claiming that you're African. Once you make that claim that I'm African or African American or black African or whatever, you oust yourself.
You're not saying Hukupata.
Right? Right? You put yourself in the position of treasonous. Which is why they could do what they do with our people. Because the order of the day is nationality. The order of the day isn't citizenship or citizenry. Right? We think it's about citizenry. Everybody else knows that it's about being national. And that's where we're trying to get the people at. But if they don't take it into their own hands, right? Like, right? And again, it comes back to the same thing about using our stuff, right? So, in the Declaration of Independence, because we talked about that earlier, right? When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which compel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute a new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to effect their safety and happiness. Isn't that what these people are complaining of? That the U.S. sold them out. The U.S. is so destructive in character against quote-unquote black people. Okay, well, if they're so destructive in character, why don't you follow the pattern that the Europeans followed when they came here? Because they were escaping
their thing
over there, right? And speaking about that, if you go on Facebook or if you go on the website Origin of Masonry, there's a brother by the name of Samuel Elamin who's talking about the fact that if these Europeans took the position to say, forget you over there, right? We're coming over here, right? How did all these lodges get over here? Because they have to be granted charters from those same people that they just said,
forget you.
Forget you. So the only true and legitimate chartered Freemasonic lodge in America is Prince Hall, according to what this brother said. Because they're the only ones that got the charter. Yeah.
When they wrote back to England.
When they wrote back to England to get the charter, and then they said, okay, here's the charter. Europeans couldn't do that. Right. Europeans couldn't do that.
You were the guys who said forget us.
Because you were the guys that said forget us.
So why am
So
I gonna send you
why am I going to send you a charter
and give you the okay for
and
this
give you the
and
okay
that
to start up Masonry over here when, right?
Mhm.
So the real power is Prince Hall as far as Masonry in America is concerned. That's the real power, the Black the Black Lodge,
quote unquote Black Lodge,
and they don't even know that they're the power.
The level, the level.
They think that they're, you know, for the black, because the whites won't let them come to their lodge. So, you know, we have to come over here and start our own. When you're not even in a pocket, because you're from this land. So why wouldn't you get the charter? And their job was to make that Prince Hall, whatever, on the level of what the temple is. Give these people back their birthrights, their nationality, teach them about that they're Moors, teach them that the foundation of Masonry is based on them being Harem Abif, knocked out by 3 ruffians and then buried in the North Gate in a shallow grave, and that it's time to shake off the dirt, climb out the grave, Lazarus, and let's get to work. Right? But because of our passivity, right, which Noble Drew Ali told us, you know, all Moors are active, not passive. Right? They have this waiting position. When they have the charter, they're the ones with the authority. The Prince Hall Masons in America are the only legitimate free Masonic lodge in America. Everybody else is a fraud, because they're the only ones with a legitimate charter.
That came from
England.
The head lodge.
So if we go back to this, whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it. It's the right of the people to say, you guys aren't doing what you're supposed to do. You guys are running a fraud. It's you guys little sub corporations that are employees that are killing our children. You're out of here. We're the government. You're not the government. We're taking you out of power right now. But they don't want to do that. They want to listen to Jesse, Messy Jesse. Messy, brief Jesse. and all these other dirty Moors. And go march and picket. Right? For these people to come use their sound weapons and whatever on them.
Which is just what's going to happen in the end.
Right? We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America in General Congress assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do in the name and by authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that the United Colonies are, and of right ought to be free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved. So, if they are saying that they're absolved from all allegiance of the British Crown and all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain ought to be totally dissolved, then that means all those charters that they came over here with aren't worth nothing. All those charters that they came over here with saying that they're the lodge of whatever don't have any power over here, because they dissolved them by saying we don't want nothing to do with you guys, but we're gonna still be over here. Same thing like what El Hajj did. Well, I don't have nothing to do with the NOI. I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna do my own thing. But you're still saying, "Oh, well, I honor Elijah Muhammad, and and fired Muhammad. Thank you for being with me." But I don't like what you guys did and whatever. It doesn't work like that.
I left the group, but you
left the group, but you're still showing allegiance. Yeah, you're still making mention. Which is fraud. Right? and that as free and independent states, they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and do all other acts and things which independent states may have the right to do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each of our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. 56 signatures on the declaration. Right? 56 signatures. Right? That's no different than the Moors say, get yourself in a group or whatever, draft up some paperwork, which is already done, because you can go on RV Bay publications, you can go on Moorish Nation public records, and they already have the paperwork already done, already mailed out to those people. All you got to do is take it now and use it in that fashion. You don't even need to go create your own. You can just use the one that they use, because they didn't create it as individual paperwork. They created it as collective paperwork for the Moors to use. Right? 56 signatures. 5 and 6, 11. Right? 11 being the gift of spiritual inheritance, is gifted as the light bearer. It is the number of the light within all, strengthened by the love of peace, gentleness, sensitivity, and insight. Greatest facility is that the awareness of universal relationship is related to the energy of oppositions and the balancing needed in order to achieve synthesis. 11 is the peacemaker. What's their position? Peacemaker. We want to get out of war with these crazy people in Europe that still haven't learned nothing, even though they came out of the Dark Ages. And we want to come over here to the West, where we can live peacefully under the Moors. And we're going to get them to sign all our stuff. You know, we're going to get them to verify. We're going to go to the Sultan of Morocco. We're going to have him sign up and say, yeah, you know, I vouch for these guys because, you know what I mean, they came all the way over here and whatever. Just like the Renaissance. And the Renaissance was run by the white man, which is us. And the only reason it fell is because we gravitated to our lower self, which is the devil. So don't blame the devil. And don't blame the white man. And then we just close out with free white persons again. So everybody's clear.
The definition is
clear as to who white people are.
I want to hear this definition.
Right?
Free love, free everything, eh? Though free this, free that.
Yo, crazy. Free white persons. It includes all European Jews, more or less intermixed with peoples of Celtic, Scandinavian, Teutonic, Iberian, Latin, Greek, and Slavic descent. Intermixed. Right? So intermixed means you have to have the blood in you. You know, when we used to have the harems and whatever and all that?
Yeah.
Okay, right? It includes Magyars, Lapps and Finns, and the Basques and Albanians. It includes the mixed Latin, Celtic, Iberian, and Moorish inhabitants of Spain and Portugal, the mixed Greek, Latin, Phoenician, and North African inhabitants of Sicily, and the mixed slave Tartar inhabitants of South Russia. It does not mean Caucasian race, Aryan race, or Indo-European races, nor the mixed Indo-European, Dravidian, Semitic, and Mongolian peoples who inhabit Persia. It does not mean Caucasian race, Aryan race, or Indo-European races. So stop blaming the white man, because the white man does not include the Caucasian race, the Aryan race, or the Indo-European races.
Think about that definition. Does not include.
It does not include
the Caucasian.
The term free white person
You have to be.
You have to be more in order to be
Mixed-
white.
Mixed in somewhere. Yeah.
You have to
It
be
has
mixed
to be in
in order to be white.
there.
You can't just be a paleo talking about you're a white man. And we can't be talking about the white man complaining about the white man did stuff to us. Because if the white man did something to you, you did it to yourself. Because you're the white man. We're the real white people.
Like that's in a Black's Law dictionary.
That's in a Black's Law dictionary. That Moors are the white people.
Of Spain, South Europe,
North Africa,
whatever
all that.
you wanna, however you wanna.
Right?
Where you getting down?
It's clear. It's very clear. Right? And once we take the position of that serious, right? Once we take the position of that serious, then we'll start to see things moving in our favor, right? Citizenship of the United States, expatriation, etc. Citizenship in Morocco may be said to be governed by the laws pertaining to the same in other countries, which, with the exception that all persons residing in Morocco who cannot prove foreign citizenship or protection are considered ipso jure as Moorish subjects.
Moorish subjects.
So if you can't prove that you're from somewhere else,
Another nationality.
yeah, if you can't prove you're another nationality,
then by
automatically, by default, you're a Moor.
you go to the Moorish.
By default, you're a Moor. Right?
So even people in America, if they don't, they can't really claim another one.
That's why if you check all these Europeans denouncing their US citizenship.
Really?
All the rich Europeans in America denouncing their US citizenship.
Really? They're like, forget it, right?
Forget it. And they're staying here. They're not going back to where they come from. They're still here.
They're still here.
Denouncing their stuff. Right? That's why Taj has Chinese people calling him. And then they're building like two nationals. And all he has to do is show them, well, yo, here's the paperwork, you know what I mean? You just put LB on your name, and because they know that they came over the Bering Strait over here, and they have claim over here too. They know that the so-called Indians is us and them that did the jugga, you know what I mean? And then Indians came about.
Yeah.
And everybody thinks the Indians are, when they're Chinese people.
Yeah.
And us, mixed up together.
People don't.
Right? So Chinese people have a claim here. Chinese people have a claim on the continent. That's why they can go to South Africa and go in the mines and work and get gold or whatever and then take it back to China. That's why U.S is going to go to China to go get money to bail them out. How come they didn't go to Europe? How come Europe didn't bail out the U.S?
And that's another thing. People look at Europe, but it's not Europe. Europe's the youngest of the group, right?
Europe ain't nobody.
China's OG. China's from back in the day. Like you go to daddy. You need money. You go OG.
Straight,
you know what I mean?
Straight.
You go like the older
You're
people.
gonna go to Europe to go get, especially after you said that Declaration of Independence that those guys are mean and you know what I mean. Why are you gonna go to them?
Yeah. And when you go back, you're just
even Land Rover. Even Land Rover. India bought Land Rover.
The company.
India,
the country
bought Land Rover.
The country bought that corporation.
Bought that corporation. In order to give the U.S money for bailout. India owns Land Rover. Not a corporation. In India.
Yeah.
India.
The country, the nation.
The country owns Land Rover, even though it's a corporation still. The country owns Land Rover. And I think Jaguar, too.
Yeah, because they're together.
Bro.
So India bought that, so
US could get
America
money.
could get.
Yeah.
Detroit's dying.
Detroit's
we
done.
sold Land Rover to India.
Madness.
Have nothing left.
Madness, right? They're gonna have nothing, and so we got to get on the ball.
Electric cars,
especially our people. Oh yeah, and then since we're talking about Hermes Trismegistus, quick to get on the record, the 7 principles and precepts of the Hermetic principles. 1. Mind. All is mind. Everything is energy. The universe is mental. 2. Correspondence. As it is above, so it is below. As it is below, so it is above. 3. Vibration. Nothing is stationary. Everything vibrates. 4. Polarity. Everything is double. Everything has its opposite. Extremes meet. 5. Rhythm. All is ebb and flow. Action and reaction. Advance and recoil. 6. Cause and effect. Nothing happens by chance. Everything happens according to the law. And 7. Generation. Generation is manifest in everything. Everything is masculine and feminine. Alright? And today's books were Treaty Book, Treaty of Peace and Friendship, rvbaypublications.com. MSTA Degrees, rvbaypublications.com, published by RV Bay Publications for Moors Order of the Round Table. Oh yeah, let me get Black Supremacy. Just talk to any Rastafarian and they should have this. If they don't have it, they're probably running a fraud. Because this is like their Bible. They should have this. If I have this, they should have this. Right? If they don't have this, be careful. Because your own brother is going to put your ass in slavery. Told you. And then don't forget Black's Law, 4th edition. Right? And don't forget, it's going to be uploaded to YouTube, so you can go back, do your research, take your notes or whatever like that. Look up all those sites, all those different lodges, and make it lead you somewhere. And remember that the order of the day is nationality. If you have no nationality, you have no rights. If you have no rights, it's probably because you're identified as a it. And if you're identified as a it, you're done for. Like, don't even beg for nothing. Don't even you might as well take the gun, put it to your own head. Because nothing's coming to help you. Not no God, not nothing.
Nothing.
Right? So, I know we got we had some new people today. So Islam to the Moors for being online. We had about eight or so. Logged in Moors.
Logged in.
You know what I mean? Right? So we're gonna just close out with the prayer and get this day over with. Oh yeah, and don't forget, Sunday we have Brother Casanova Bay at the temple this Sunday, Skype lecture. It's gonna be off the chain because that brother there
serious brother.
Serious.
He's gonna break down some stuff.
He's gonna break down some stuff because he's not just more in the physical. He's more in the spiritual.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? He's more in his blood, like his family is indigenous people, and you know what I mean?
Okay.
So he has lots of oral tradition and stuff to share.
Okay.
Like the brother studies, that's all he does. He used to be in the streets and all that. So there's things on that side, dealing with more science, dealing with Chief Malik, Jeff Ford, and L. Ruckins and all that type of stuff there that
he's gonna
go in.
Through
yeah,
stuff.
so it should be a good session.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, to His holy prophet, noble Jew Ali. Islam, Islam, Islam. Peace and love, Moors. Hotep. And don't forget to check out Canaanland Moors on YouTube. Every week we're putting up something. All the lectures that we're doing on Sundays, we're going to be putting those up. And also too, Moors who are in Toronto, Wednesday nights, we're going to start streaming the Taj classes from Harlem at the temple.
He does his Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 7 to 9 every Wednesday. Every Wednesday, 7 to 9. Taj, live and direct. Right? At the temple. 2533A Eglinton Avenue West. Islam, Moors.